thank you to Mike Weinroth and to David Feldman for doing this fantastic stuff. You guys are great. And Seth, thank you for inviting me up here. It's very special to be up here. And thank you to Mayor Liz. Your support of all of this is very meaningful. Thank you. I just would correct one thing. I don't drive an awful lot. It's a pleasure. I love it. That's it. Only correction. I'm Chaim Markovits, and I'm the grandson of 4 survivors. My mother's parents and my father's parents. And they lived through the living hell that the camps were and the entire experience. And when they came out, they became rebuilders. And I'd suggest that we're all on a mission to rebuild and to do a better job at it, which I reckon you guys are doing quite finely. But this perspective is one that doesn't always come naturally to us. Sometimes it needs to be taught. And I'd like to share with you an episode that did teach this perspective. You may remember a teacher, a professor in Boston University, in a university in Boston, whose name was Elie Wiesel. He was also an author. He wrote some best-selling books in which he writes and describes many of the experiences that he had in the camps. But there's something that we would have never remembered Mr. Wiesel for. We would never have known him as a father. Because when he left, when he made it out, when he came to this glorious country, he was sure he would do nothing to bring another soul into such a horrific and traumatic world. Why would he cause another one to suffer? But in 1965, he's 35 years old, he receives a letter as part of the correspondence that he's had. He receives a letter from my mentor, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, encouraging him to go ahead and get married, encouraging him to go and have a child. And the Rebbe writes to him, and I'd like to quote it. The Rebbe writes, "Despite how important it is to relate what happened to the present generation, and notwithstanding how hard it is to free ourselves from these memories and experiences, you must make every effort to tear yourself away from your memories and adopt a lifestyle with a stable structure and establish a Jewish home and a Jewish family." Influenced by this letter, Mr. Wiesel went ahead and he got married. And together they had their only child, who's the father of many more children today, phenomenally. And my friends, this letter has something for all of us. It's written to Mr. Wiesel, but it's a guiding light for everyone present, and I think all of Western society. What Hitler sought to destroy is what we need to rebuild. The ultimate response to Hitler is exactly what Elie Wiesel continued to do. He remarried, and he rebuilt, and he created the future. And we're here today, we're going to plant flowers. We're going to plant the daffodils. Each bulb of the daffodils is symbolic of another Jewish child who was murdered over 80 years ago during the Holocaust. But if you can use your imagination for a moment, can you imagine the sweet faces of those children? And imagine their laughter. And imagine their smiles. Delicious children. And now can you imagine the impact, the actions and the spoken words that each of these children could have done had their lives not been snuffed out so many years ago? Can we just imagine the beautiful changes that all of these children could have made in our world? Now, I'm not much of a botanist, at least not yet, but I did look into daffodils for a moment. And now all flowers, as you plant them, they grow, and there's a stem, and it grows up, and then it blossoms into a flower. And then finally, the flower will pollinate, and will eventually another flower will blossom on. What gives meaning and purpose in life is for us to give to another. What we do for ourselves, it's often forgotten. But what we do for our fellow will always be remembered and cherished. So I discovered that the daffodil's seeds develop at the base of the petal in a swelling. And I gave it a moment of thought, and I imagined it, and I saw a heart. And I saw a heart from which stretches an arm. And at the end of the arm is a hand. And the seeds flow off and give to yet another. And so I bless all of us present and this glorious town. Let's all be like these flowers. Let's all stand up, let's bloom and let's blossom, and let's give. Let's give from ourselves to another. Let our petals spread out and give to someone in need. Let your petals spread forth and give attention to someone who would otherwise be ignored. And let your petals shine as a smile to a stranger who just so needed it today. Let your petals spread out and give a kind word to an aching heart. Let's all become the petals and the arms of these lost children and reach out to others to transform Hiawasee to be the most beautiful, vibrant place that Hiawasee can be. Thank you.